Hello, friends. In our daily lives, we often rush from one task to the next, constantly pushing ourselves toward goals and outcomes. But in the midst of the hustle, we can forget the most important thing: to check in with ourselves, to pause and reflect on the thoughts and beliefs that shape our experiences. Today, I want to share with you 9 things to tell yourself everyday, simple yet powerful reminders that, if embraced, will guide you toward a life of courage, authenticity, and connection. Vulnerability is often misunderstood. Many view it as a weakness, something to be hidden or avoided. We are taught to be strong, to have it all together, to show the world a version of ourselves that appears flawless. But this drive for perfection and self-sufficiency can be a barrier to true connection, growth, and authenticity. In reality, vulnerability is one of the greatest strengths we possess. It is the doorway to courage, connection, and the ability to live an open and fulfilled life. When we embrace vulnerability, we give ourselves permission to be seen as we truly are. This means accepting our flaws, our uncertainties, and our imperfections. It requires us to let go of the facade we may feel compelled to maintain. For too long, we have been conditioned to hide our struggles and pretend to have all the answers, fearing judgment or rejection if we reveal our true selves. But in reality, it is the very act of showing up, imperfect and vulnerable, that creates the space for authenticity to thrive. In moments of vulnerability, we often feel exposed, afraid of being judged or criticized. These feelings are natural, but they also remind us that we are human, and that humanness is what allows us to connect with others. When we share our struggles, our dreams, or our uncertainties with others, we invite them into our lives, creating an opportunity for true connection. Vulnerability opens the door to empathy, understanding, and compassion. It allows us to reach out to others and say, "I see you, and I understand," while also allowing others to say the same back to us. Without vulnerability, there is no real connection, no shared humanity. Embracing vulnerability also means acknowledging that we cannot control everything. We often want to have every part of our lives neatly organized with clear paths and outcomes. But life rarely works that way. It is messy, unpredictable, and full of unknowns. When we are vulnerable, we let go of the need for certainty. We admit that we don't have all the answers, and that it's okay to not know what comes next. This acceptance allows us to embrace change and uncertainty, creating space for new possibilities to unfold. It's important to recognize that vulnerability is not a one-time act. It is a practice. It's a commitment to showing up in the world with an open heart, even when it feels uncomfortable. It's being willing to take risks, to speak our truth, and to ask for help when we need it. And sometimes it's simply allowing ourselves to be seen in our most raw and unguarded moments. The more we practice vulnerability, the easier it becomes. And the more we begin to understand that our imperfections and our openness are what make us truly powerful. Choosing vulnerability means letting go of the armor we have built to protect ourselves. It's about stepping into the unknown and trusting that, even in the face of fear, we will be okay. When we embrace vulnerability, we unlock our capacity for growth, resilience, and connection. And in doing so, we not only transform ourselves, but also invite others to do the same. So let us challenge the belief that vulnerability is a weakness and instead embrace it as a powerful, transformative force in our lives. Self-compassion is often overlooked, especially in a world that places so much emphasis on perfection and achievement. We are taught to be our own harshest critics, believing that being tough on ourselves will lead to growth and success. However, self-compassion is the practice of treating ourselves with the same kindness, understanding, and patience that we would offer a dear friend. It's about recognizing our shared humanity, acknowledging that we are not alone in our struggles, and allowing ourselves to make mistakes without judgment. The first step in practicing self-compassion is recognizing the need for it. We are often quick to offer compassion to others in times of difficulty, but are much less inclined to show the same kindness to ourselves. When we face challenges, setbacks, or moments of failure, our immediate reaction is often self-criticism. We might say things like, "I should have known better," or "I'm not good enough," internalizing these thoughts as truths. This negative self-talk not only harms our self-esteem, but also keeps us stuck in cycles of shame and guilt. Self-compassion, on the other hand, allows us to break free from these destructive patterns. It involves treating ourselves with the same understanding and support we would offer to a friend in a similar situation. If a close friend came to us feeling lost or disappointed, we would remind them that mistakes are a part of life, that they are worthy of love and care despite their flaws. We would tell them that it's okay to not be perfect and that they are not defined by their failures. Practicing self-compassion means offering ourselves the same comfort and reassurance. A key component of self-compassion is mindfulness, or the ability to be aware of our emotions without becoming overwhelmed by them. Rather than repressing or avoiding painful feelings, self-compassion encourages us to face them with gentleness. When we experience discomfort, whether it's frustration, sadness, or anxiety, we don't judge ourselves for feeling that way. Instead, we acknowledge the emotions, accept them as part of our human experience, and remind ourselves that it's okay to struggle. This mindset allows us to move through difficult emotions with more resilience and clarity, rather than letting them dictate our actions or perceptions. It's also important to remember that self-compassion is not about letting ourselves off the hook or excusing poor behavior. Rather, it's about recognizing that we are all imperfect beings and that mistakes are an inevitable part of life. Self-compassion allows us to learn from our missteps without berating ourselves. It encourages growth and improvement through understanding, not through self-punishment. By forgiving ourselves for past mistakes and offering ourselves the space to grow, we create the conditions for positive change. Self-compassion also helps us build a healthier relationship with ourselves, reducing the harmful effects of stress, anxiety, and burnout. It fosters a sense of inner peace by allowing us to be less critical and more accepting of who we are. The more we practice self-compassion, the more we can cultivate a mindset of self-love and acceptance. This doesn't mean we stop striving for better, but it allows us to do so from a place of kindness rather than fear. Self-compassion is about remembering that we are deserving of love and care, regardless of our mistakes or shortcomings. When we practice self-compassion, we begin to heal old wounds, build resilience, and strengthen our ability to face life's challenges with grace. It's a gift we give ourselves, and it transforms the way we see and relate to the world. In a world that often glorifies perfection, we can easily fall into the trap of believing that achieving flawless results or embodying an ideal bring us happiness and fulfillment. The pressure to be perfect can manifest in many ways. In our appearance, in our work, in our relationships, and even in the way we portray ourselves on social media. Yet, this pursuit of perfection often comes at a great cost. It can isolate us, exhaust us, and prevent us from experiencing the richness of true human connection. Choosing connection over perfection is about embracing the messy, vulnerable, and authentic parts of ourselves and others, and realizing that this is where real meaning lies. Perfectionism often leads us to hide our true selves. When we are focused on presenting an image of flawlessness, we become more concerned with how we appear to others rather than who we truly are. This creates barriers between us and the people around us. We may feel like we have to constantly meet external expectations, which leaves little room for the raw, unfiltered parts of ourselves. The more we hide behind the mask of perfection, the more disconnected we become from others and from ourselves. When we choose connection over perfection, we allow ourselves the freedom to be real, to show up as we are, imperfections and all. on the other hand, is built on authenticity. It thrives when we are able to be vulnerable, to share our true thoughts and feelings, even when they are messy or imperfect. It's in these moments of vulnerability that we truly connect with others, because we are no longer pretending to be something we're not. We are inviting people to see us in our most human form, and that creates a bond that is far more meaningful than any perfect image we could present. Real connection is founded on shared experiences, empathy, and understanding, not on superficial perfection. Whether personal or professional, striving for perfection can lead to unrealistic expectations and disappointment. No one can be perfect, and no relationship is without its challenges. When we focus on perfection, we risk missing the beauty of growth, learning, and mutual support. True relationships are built on the understanding that mistakes will happen, and that it's the way we navigate those mistakes together that matters most. When we prioritize connection over perfection, we allow space for growth, forgiveness, and empathy, which are the building blocks of any meaningful relationship. Choosing connection over perfection also means letting go of the idea that we need to have everything under control. Perfectionism often thrives in environments where we try to control every detail, avoiding mistakes at all costs. But life is unpredictable, and trying to maintain control over every aspect of it only leads to frustration and burnout. When we choose connection, we give up the need for perfection and embrace the beauty of imperfection. We begin to see that life is more about the journey and the relationships we build along the way than about achieving flawless outcomes. When we stop striving for perfection, we also free ourselves from the judgment of others. The fear of judged or criticized can be paralyzing, preventing us from fully engaging with those around us. But when we choose connection over perfection, we begin to realize that people are drawn to us not for our perfection, but for our authenticity. People want to connect with others who are real, who are willing to be vulnerable and honest about their experiences. In these moments of authenticity, we experience the joy and fulfillment that comes from genuine human connection. The pursuit of perfection can lead to a life of isolation, stress, and dissatisfaction. But when we prioritize connection, we open ourselves up to a life that is richer, fuller, and more meaningful. Connection allows us to see and be seen in ways that perfection never can. It is in the imperfections, the flaws, and the messy moments that we find true intimacy, love, and understanding. So let go of the need to be perfect and choose to connect with others from a place of vulnerability, authenticity, and shared humanity. It is in those connections that we find the true beauty of life. Owning your story is one of the most empowering acts you can undertake. It means taking full responsibility for your life's narrative, acknowledging both the triumphs and the struggles, and recognizing the power in sharing it as it is. For many of us, the temptation is to hide parts of our story, the parts that feel shameful, embarrassing, or less than perfect. We may want to rewrite certain chapters or cover up the mistakes and vulnerabilities that define our human experience. However, when we deny or minimize parts of our story, we also diminish our capacity to grow, to connect with others, and to fully embrace who we are. To own your story is to stop living in the shadow of your past and to stop letting your past define who you are today. It's about acknowledging that every experience, every hardship, and every failure has contributed to the person you are becoming. Your story, with all its twists and turns, is unique to you. It is a tapestry woven together from moments of joy, pain, loss, success, and everything in between. Every piece of it is valuable, not because everything went perfectly, but because it is yours to claim. When we own our story, we also embrace the power that comes with vulnerability. We stop hiding behind masks or pretending to be someone we're not. We acknowledge that we are not perfect, that we are works in progress, and that growth comes from accepting both the light and the shadow within us. Our imperfections don't make us less worthy, they make us human. Owning our story allows us to be authentic, to be seen by others as we truly are without the need for pretense. This authenticity opens doors to deeper connections with others, as people are often drawn to the real, raw, and unpolished versions of ourselves. The act of owning your story also involves accepting that the past does not have to dictate your future. The mistakes you've made, the obstacles you've faced, and the wounds you've carried can serve as sources of strength, wisdom, and resilience. By owning them, you take back your narrative from the hands of fear and shame. No longer will you let past failures hold power over you. Instead, you choose to learn from them, use them as stepping stones, and move forward with a sense of agency over your own life. There is immense freedom in owning your story because it allows you to stop comparing yourself to others. The constant need to measure up to someone else's standards or to fit into someone else's mold fades when you realize that your story is uniquely yours. No one else can walk in your shoes or live your life, and that is a beautiful thing. When you stop seeking validation from external sources, you reclaim your personal power. You no longer need to conform to the expectations of others. You begin to live authentically with confidence in your own journey. Owning your story also means confronting the uncomfortable parts of it. It's about being willing to acknowledge the pain, the failure, and the heartbreak, not as a source of shame, but as a part of the process of becoming who you are. It's about accepting that vulnerability and pain are inevitable parts of life, but they do not define you. When we refuse to confront these parts of our story, they continue to control us. But when we own them, we take away their power. We see them not as burdens, but as experiences that shape our strength, empathy, and understanding. Owning your story is about embracing your worth, not because of perfection, but because of your willingness to be authentic, to be human, and to accept yourself as you are. It is in owning your story that you reclaim the power to rewrite the next chapter. You are the author of your life, and only you can decide how it unfolds. By embracing every part of who you are, you give yourself the permission to step into the fullness of your potential and to share your journey with the world, inspiring others to do the same. Shame is a powerful, destructive force that can hold us back from living fully. It's a feeling that tells us we are not enough, flawed, that we are flawed, unworthy, or undeserving of love, success, or happiness. Shame is not about our actions, but about who we believe we are in relation to others and ourselves. It attaches itself to our identity, convincing us that we are defined by our mistakes, our shortcomings, or our perceived failures. The truth, however, is that shame only serves to isolate us, diminish our self-worth, and keep us from living authentically. Letting go of shame is an essential step toward healing, growth, and reclaiming our personal power. The first step in letting go of shame is recognizing it for what it is. Shame often thrives in secrecy. It festers in silence and thrives when we keep it hidden, trying to pretend that it doesn't exist or that we can somehow outrun it. When we carry shame, we often feel as though we are the only ones who have ever experienced something difficult or made a mistake. This belief keeps us isolated and prevents us from reaching out for support. In truth, shame is a universal emotion. Everyone has felt it at some point. Realizing that shame is not something unique to us, but part of the shared human experience can help diminish its power. It's not an individual flaw, but a collective feeling that affects us all. To let go of shame, we must also begin to shift the way we view ourselves. Often shame convinces us that we are bad or unworthy because of a specific action or experience. But what we need to remember is that we are not our mistakes. We are not the sum of our flaws or imperfections. Our worth is not tied to the things we've done wrong, but to our inherent value as human beings. When we let go of shame, we begin to separate our actions from our identity. We can learn from our mistakes, grow from them, but we don't have to carry the weight of them forever. We are allowed to make mistakes without believing that they define us as failures. Another crucial part of letting go of shame is forgiving ourselves. Self-forgiveness is an act of compassion, one that allows us to release the guilt and self-judgment that often accompany shame. When we forgive ourselves, we acknowledge that we did the best we could at the time with the knowledge and resources we had. We stop holding ourselves hostage to the past and give ourselves permission to move forward. Self-forgiveness is not about excusing harmful behavior or ignoring the consequences of our actions, but about recognizing that we are capable of growth and change. It's about accepting that making mistakes is part of being human and that we deserve the same compassion and understanding that we would offer to others. Letting go of shame also requires us to embrace vulnerability. Shame thrives in isolation, but connection has the power to heal it. When we open up to others about our struggles, our failures, or our fears, we are no longer hiding in shame. We are stepping into the light, allowing ourselves to be seen and heard. This vulnerability helps us realize that we are not alone. Others have experienced similar pain, and through sharing, we build bridges of empathy and understanding. It's through connection that we can heal from shame, not by keeping it hidden, but by releasing it into the open, where it can no longer control us. Letting go of shame means accepting that we are deserving of love, compassion, and kindness regardless of our past. We may have made mistakes. We may have hurt others or ourselves. But that does not mean we are beyond redemption or that we are unworthy of happiness. When we let go of shame, we open ourselves up to the possibility of healing, growth, and a future that is not defined by our past. We can move forward with the understanding that we are worthy of love, not in spite of our flaws, but because of our ability to learn, grow, and become better versions of ourselves. Letting go of shame is about reclaiming our inherent worth, embracing our imperfections, and living authentically. When we release shame, we free ourselves to be the fullest expression of who we truly are. Living with courage is not about the absence of fear, rather it is the ability to act in spite of it. Courage is often viewed as something reserved for moments of extreme challenge or peril, but in reality, it is woven into the fabric of our everyday lives. Each time we step outside of our comfort zone, speak our truth, or face uncertainty, we are practicing courage. It's in the small, daily acts that we can find the strength to move forward, even when the path is unclear. To live with courage means embracing vulnerability, challenging the status quo, and moving through life with an open heart, even when fear tries to hold us back. Fear is a natural part of being human. It serves as a protective mechanism, alerting us to potential danger and encouraging us to avoid harm. However, fear can also become a barrier, stopping us from pursuing our dreams, taking risks, or even just being ourselves. Too often, we allow fear to dictate our actions, to make decisions for us, and to keep us trapped in a cycle of inaction. The truth is, living with courage does not mean eliminating fear. It means facing it head on and choosing to move forward in spite of it. It's the willingness to take the first step, even when we don't know what lies ahead. One of the most powerful forms of courage is the courage to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is often perceived as weakness, but it is, in fact, a form of strength. To open yourself up to the world, to share your true thoughts and feelings, and to risk rejection or criticism requires immense bravery. Vulnerability allows us to connect with others on a deeper level, to show up authentically, and to invite others into our lives without the armor of perfection. It takes courage to be seen for who we truly are, to let go of the facade to protect ourselves, and to embrace our full humanity. The more we practice vulnerability, the more we realize that it is not a weakness, but a powerful tool for personal growth and connection. Living with courage also means challenging the status quo, whether it's in our personal lives, our careers, or in society. It requires the bravery to question long-held beliefs, to step outside the norms, and to take a stand for what we believe in. Courage is the fuel behind innovation and change. It's the voice that pushes against conformity and encourages progress. Living courageously often means standing alone, making decisions that may not be popular, and accepting that you may face opposition. But in the face of adversity, courage allows you to hold your ground, to stay true to your values, and to keep moving forward. Courage is not just about grand gestures or bold actions. It's also about the quiet, consistent acts of bravery that occur every day. It's about showing up for yourself, even when the world is telling you to shrink. It's about setting boundaries, saying no when you need to, and prioritizing your own well-being. It's about facing challenges with resilience, knowing that setbacks are part of the process, not the end of the road. Courage is in the willingness to keep going, even when the road is difficult, and to trust that with time we will find our way. Living with courage is a practice. It's something that can be cultivated over time, through small acts of bravery and self-trust. Every time we face our fears, take a risk, or speak up, we strengthen our courage muscles. We learn that fear does not have to control us, and that we have the ability to overcome whatever challenges life throws our way. To live with courage is to embrace the unknown with an open heart, to trust in ourselves, and to take bold steps forward, knowing that we are capable of more than we realize. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to move through it with conviction and grace. Gratitude is one of the most powerful practices we can incorporate into our daily lives. It has the ability to shift our mindset, transform our relationships, and bring us a sense of peace, regardless of our circumstances. When we cultivate gratitude, we train our minds to focus on what we have, rather than what we lack. And this simple shift can make all the difference in how we experience the world. Gratitude is not about ignoring life's difficulties or pretending that everything is perfect, but rather about finding moments of appreciation and recognizing the blessings that exist even amidst the challenges. One of the most profound effects of fostering gratitude is its ability to shift our perspective. It's easy to get caught up in the negative, whether it's the stresses of daily life, the problems we face at work or in our relationships, or the constant pressure to do more, be more, achieve more. We can often feel overwhelmed by all the things we think we should be doing or the things we think we're missing. But when we make the choice to focus on what we are thankful for, we begin to see the abundance that is already present in our lives. This shift allows us to feel more content, more fulfilled, and more at peace regardless of external circumstances. Gratitude has the power to transform our lens through which we see the world, encouraging us to notice the small, everyday moments that often go unnoticed. Fostering gratitude also deepens our connection with others. When we express gratitude for the people in our lives, whether it's a friend, a family member, a colleague, or even a stranger, we reinforce the bonds of connection that unite us. Gratitude opens the door to vulnerability and authenticity. It invites us to acknowledge the kindness and support we receive from others, and when we express our appreciation, we not only uplift the person we are thanking, but also ourselves. Gratitude strengthens relationships by creating an atmosphere of positivity, mutual respect, and recognition. People feel valued when their efforts are acknowledged, and that can foster a deeper sense of belonging and trust. By regularly expressing gratitude, we begin to build a network of relationships that are rooted in appreciation and love. Gratitude plays a key role in our own well-being. Research has shown that people who practice gratitude regularly experience increased levels of happiness, lower levels of stress, and even better physical health. This is because gratitude helps us focus on the present moment and appreciate what we have right now, rather than constantly longing for something more or something different. It can reduce feelings of anxiety and depression by counteracting negative thought patterns and helping us shift toward a mindset of abundance rather than scarcity. When we practice gratitude, we begin to see the good in ourselves, in our lives, and in the world around us. This positive shift not only improves our mood, but can lead to long-term changes in how we perceive our life circumstances. Fostering gratitude also requires mindfulness. It's easy to go through our days without truly noticing the gifts we have. We often rush from one task to the next, caught up in the busyness of life, without pausing to appreciate what we already have. Gratitude requires us to slow down and be present. It asks us to notice the beauty in the ordinary moments, the warm sun on our face, a kind word from a colleague, a moment of laughter with a loved one. By cultivating gratitude, we begin to live more intentionally, becoming more attuned to the blessings in our lives. Practicing gratitude is a way to tune into the richness of the present moment, to acknowledge that even in the hardest times, there is always something to be grateful for. Fostering gratitude is a practice, a daily choice to acknowledge and appreciate the abundance that surrounds us. It is about making space for appreciation, even when life feels challenging. By embracing gratitude, we shift from a mindset of lack to one of abundance, opening ourselves up to greater joy, deeper connections, and an overall sense of fulfillment. Gratitude is a gift we give ourselves and others, and when we cultivate it, we not only change the way we experience the world, but also invite more light, love, and positivity into our lives.